Hello everybody, Keith here again. It's the end of the month What's in Bloom video. Got quite a nice selection today. So without any further delay, let's go and have a start, shall we? Got a white twinkle in flower. It didn't do very well last year, it's doing much better this year. May need to be repotted before very much longer, but we've got two spikes out. There's kind of a little tiny spike there that's not really doing an awful lot, but we have got some new growth, we have got some roots, so hopefully this is going to be alright, but I think it's not completely happy. I'm not sure what I'm doing with it really. Some people say these things do a lot better mounted than in a pot. I think the bark might be a little bit on the coarse side for it. It may be better off in the Burnham sort of medium bark, which I bought relatively recently. I might need to get some more. I've got a dead pseudo bulb in there, and a couple of dead pseudo bulbs that weren't taken out. So yeah, it's time this was looked at. But that's my white twinkle. My pink twinkle isn't doing anything this year as far as I can see. Not had a great year with this type of dendrobium. This is Berryoda. We've got a couple of spikes with a few flowers on, all off the same cane. It grew quite well. It looked like it was going to put out more spikes than this, but this and my Sarnuk types, they've done nothing at all this year. In fact, both of those, I've got two, I've got Polar Fire and Thailand Black, both put spikes up. And I think it must be the cold in here. We're not getting down that cold. The minimum temperature I've seen so far is about 15, which should be okay for most of them. But those two, well, it was the cold coming down through the roof or something like that, I don't know, but both spikes blasted. And these had better spikes. I don't know if you can see on the back of that, just above my fingernail there, that there was another end to the spike that just died off, and there's no sign of any more. So again, whether this was last repotted March last year, about a year ago, but I've got a cane that's not looking great. So again, this needs a bit of TLC, needs a bit of looking at. Try and work out what is happening. It's not doing as well as it has done, but I've got a few plants like that. I'm not sure what it is. I'll have to see what I've changed in the recent past and have another go. It's certainly Nobly season. This is Spring Dream, the white one you commonly see in garden centres, a few supermarkets, that kind of thing. If it's a big white one with thickish canes, it's almost certainly Spring Dream. But this is actually showing that old thing about if you watered at the wrong time you'll get cakeys and no flowers. Because I got flowers and On this cane we've got keikis. So I don't see that. I just think that it's the plant trying to do its thing. We've got a few of those. The canes it grew last year weren't that big, and I do wonder whether in trying to improve matters with a bit more nitrogen and calcium using CalMag and what have you, it's ended up with too much nitrogen, and things have not gone well, because nitrogen is a growth promoting mineral gas, I suppose, compound, however you want to call it, and too much of it though makes them go very lush and sort of a bit soft. So don't know, probably needed the calcium and magnesium on some of the plants, because some of them have definitely been improved by it. But I looked at the composition, there's nitrates in there, I've got nitrate in my other fertiliser, so I don't know whether I'm doing the right thing with that. I'm going to have to have another think. So Spring Dream lives on the rack just over here, which is the only thing that's big enough to take the nobly type dendrobiums, because I can take a shelf out. Nobly types. I've got this one, and there's one here which I will try and bring in a moment. What's happened there? What has happened? Yeah. Oh, we've got a caterpillar. We've got a caterpillar on one of the flowers. Right. Let me pause it while I get rid of that little intruder. Right, where on earth have you come from? Yes, I bet you're trying to slope off, aren't you? I'll have you off there, I think. No, you don't. I don't know what that is. Little greenish, fairly flat looking caterpillar. Well, that'll go in the bin very shortly. Right, where were we? Okay, this one, which is a pain to move about. It's very much a problem. It has to be tied in place on the rack. This is Lady Coleman. It's one I've had for a few years now. It's one of the first plants I bought from another member of the East Midlands Orchid Society, and it grows very well for me, although again this year's canes are not as big as some, but it usually flowers quite easily. But the Dendrobium guru that we've got in the society warned me that this can get probably half as tall again, so it is quite an unwieldy beast. It looks a lot like the species Nobly, or in fact if you look at its ancestry, there's very, very little Nobly in there. There's a lot of other things, but you've ended up with something that looks a lot like the original Nobly species. But this is Lady Coleman. It was bred by Coleman of the Coleman's mustard family in Norfolk, based around Norwich. He was a very keen breeder of orchids at the time, and he named it in honour of his wife. So this is Dendrobium Lady Coleman. I bought two of these at the time. Now, so I can get this back without wrecking it. Because as I say, it has to be tied to the onto the structural steelwork of the rack, because otherwise it just falls over and doesn't do anything any good. It's a perennial problem with the big Noblies. And I've got another one bought at the same time, not quite as big, but another decent plant that grows quite well for me. One of those things, it just keeps going. Not an awful lot of trouble, just keep changing the bark every once in a while, water it and feed it fairly regularly, and off it goes. Last of my Nobly types, which is out at the moment, another plant which I got as a keiki from a fellow member of the East Midlands Orchid Society. What's the best flower to have a look at? It's difficult to sort of see. Really quite nice, dark maroon with a white ring and a yellow throat. Quite an attractive flower. I got it as Dendrobium akazukin, A-K-A-Z-U-K-I-N. That was the original name for the plant. There are a couple which have akazukin in the name. Certainly one of them looks nothing whatever like this, so is it? I don't know. I don't think it's the other standard Nobly type you see in supermarkets and garden centres, because that one I think has got more maroon in the flower, and the flowers tend to be a bit bigger. But this, as I got it, this is the original label which came with it, and you can see it says akazukin. And that lives again, has to live on the top of this rack, because it's the only place that is big enough to take it. Right, on more familiar territory now. Mini Mark. This spike's still growing strong, still got some more buds to come, and we've now got more spikes growing over here. There's 2 or 3 growing in there that are beginning to get ready. This is it's a plant, it doesn't know when to stop flowering. I think it's about due for a repot. I haven't got a date label in here, and I think it's been a while since it's been done. So, and we've got mealybugs. I'm really having problems with mealybugs this year, really am. I'm beginning to get on top of it, but I am having problems with mealybugs. So that one needs a spray. This is one that's been quite reluctant to flower for me for a while, and then it flowered again for the first time last year, and it's now flowering again this year. a little no ID that I got from one of our local Tesco supermarkets. Hence I label it Tesco Purple, but I've seen very similar plants in other shops, but it's obviously a standard no ID, easily bred thing. It's not been very happy until I've repotted it early last year, and since then it's flowered twice, which, you know, great flowerings, no, but we've got 3 more buds to come on this spike at least, so I'll take that as a second one after a long time. They sometimes take a while to get their feet, or roots you might say, back underneath them. So that's a little purple no ID, lovely little plant, that one of my favourites. This one's been in flower for a long time now. Again repotted about a year ago. Again got mealybugs on it. They really are being a pain, but I am, as I say, slowly getting on top. Seeing the odd one now. I'm not seeing vast numbers of them. I just keep spraying it and treating it whenever I see something. But they're just, it's been a bad year, and I've heard other people say it's been a bad year for them. But yeah, it's another one. We've got another couple of buds possibly coming on there. But it's been in flower quite a while. It'd be nice to see that spike finish, and then I can try and get it to put some more leaves and what have you out. A recent acquisition for me, this one. Looks quite a lot like Pink Twilight, but this one is Pink Clouds. Bought it as a seedling. Actually, I won it in the raffle as a seedling from the East Midlands Orchid Society. It's yet another one that's got mealybugs on the back of the flowers. Oh dear, this is really not great. Not masses of them, but they're there, and I keep spraying and it's not that's doing, so I'm going to have to just keep spraying and keep my fingers crossed. It's not doing massive damage as far as I can see, but they are on a lot of plants and it's difficult to get them into complete isolation with my system. But anyway, this is Pink Clouds. And Pink Twilight, the plant that really doesn't know when to stop. As you can see, the flowers are not dissimilar to Pink Clouds, but they're not the same. The distribution of pink and white is not quite the same in the two of them. So they are very, very similar plants, but they're not identical. Well, they're certainly nothing like the same size, although whether that'll be true in a couple of years' time when the other ones had a chance to grow on is anybody's guess. But that one is coming to the end of that spike. Might well branch, it usually does. Right, I've got two Restrepias that are in flower at the moment. But I don't know. It's interesting to compare them. That one is a little yellow one, quite a small one. That's Falconbergii. And this one, which is a considerably bigger flower on a smaller plant, is Cuprea. This one is doing better. This is the one that's kept upstairs and gets 12 hours artificial light a day, and that's growing and flowering regularly at the moment, really doing well. This one is down here in the conservatory for the winter. It doesn't stay in here through the summer, it's much too hot for it. And it's just in an old fish tank with cling film over the top, and it gets what daylight it gets. So this might do a bit better as the days are starting to get longer again, but it's not obviously the greatest for it, but it's the best I can manage for the time being. Right, down to the last couple. Paphiopedilum Maudii, I think pretty much outdoing itself. I don't think I've ever had 3 flowers out at the same time. What can I say about this? Again, it's one of the first non-phalaenopsis orchids that I bought. I got it from Lawrence Hobbs at Tatton Park in, I think, 2017. I think so, but something like that. It's 17, 18. So I've had it 5 or 6 years, and it's always grown really, really strongly for me. Doesn't take a lot of looking after. Just keep it watered, keep it fed, and keep it on the damp side. And it does its thing. And my so-called American hybrid Path, another one that grows very easily, very readily for me under normal conditions. This has lived on the kitchen windowsill for a long time, and it's just got too big for it now. And it's not doing as well, I suspect, because I can't keep it on the windowsill anymore. So there's 2 plants in here. It split when I repotted it at the end of 2021, so it's getting ready for a repot again. They're both doing okay. They're both plants are growing, but it's only flowered on one side. So maybe the pot's a little bit big, although I think it was the same pot it was in before when it was a single plant, but nevertheless it could do better, but I think it needs probably a bit more warmth than it's getting at the moment, but unfortunately there's precious little I can do about that. So that's what's in bloom at the end of January 2023. Quite a nice selection, I think. Some problems that I've found as I've been looking at it, which is a nice reason for doing this. I don't mind showing the positive and the negative, because I think handling your plants, looking at your plants, picking them up, just having a general look round, we don't necessarily do that very often. And I think, you know, when you do, it gives you the chance to have a look and just make sure. So we've had caterpillars and we've had mealybugs. Not great. Anyway, hope you found that interesting overall. Sorry for any perhaps not very smooth filming this time, but I hope you've enjoyed it anyway. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.